Welcome to Queer in Cyber. This is Peter Schauwacker from Near in Cyber. This is episode 5. If you're watching this on the YouTube video, which is where we're better, you can see me do 5. If you're listening to the podcast stream, watch the YouTube one because we're fairly handsome. We're all dolled up for the last business day of Pride. Today's Friday, June 28th, 2024. It's 7 a.m. in Oaxaca. I got up early for you people. You people.
Thank you.
Ian and Amber here. Got some wins to celebrate. The LinkedIn page, which is just a LinkedIn page, has more than 400 followers now, which after like 3 months and no money to promote is pretty awesome. And we've gotten lots of accolades from various parties, and people have shown up from non-cyber circles to tell us like this is awesome. Some of them are kind of remarkable in terms of where they sit in the business and the investment community and like leaders here and there. And it's exciting to see us get recognized from other quarters. So there are allies and there are allies, right? There are people who are not queer who are allies, but there are also people who are not cyber who are allies, and we need everybody. But this is about us, for us, by us. We also have 40 subscribers on YouTube, which isn't bad. I don't have the numbers on the podcast channel; they're not nearly as spiffy.
Got all those people from LinkedIn.
I think
YouTube.
Yeah. Please subscribe.
Come subscribe.
Yeah, because then the algorithm tends to favor success follows success. For now, it's just us. Like I said, today's the last business day of Pride for the year. For us, every day of the year is Pridey, which makes Pride a little weird for those of us who just live it every day. But we want to talk about this particular one. There are 3 things going on that I can think of that are remarkable this time. One, this is the first Pride for this group. We're still figuring this out. We're learning. I think we're doing better every time. Thanks for everybody who's continuing to pitch in. We're in election year in the United States. We're also in election year in Mexico. We finished our elections in Mexico. The ones in the United States are getting very, very weird.
They're just starting. We're not going to even talk about that. That could be a whole 30 minutes.
It could be. Going to watch the British ones and watch the Tories crash and burn on the 4th of July.
Well, what is happening worldwide, but particularly in the States, is the politics are are like ratcheting up the intensity of what already tends to go on. Right? There's a revolution in gender. Now there's a counter revolution, and it ratchets up the intensity of that. A lot of it is kind of ridiculous. Well, most of it is really ridiculous, but some of it is quite scary. So again, this is the end of June 2024. Hopefully it gets better. Probably won't. And the cybersecurity market is in a recession, maybe worse, which leads us to our topic, which we called risk and reward. Amber, what's that about?
Yeah, so, we are in Pride Month, and we are, as you said, every month is Pride Month for us. But where does that come in the workplace, especially when cybersecurity is in a recession and you're trying to perhaps make yourself as appealing as possible to hiring managers, which usually means toning down all the things about you that might be of contentious nature, perhaps we'll say. So this topic is really about, are you out in the workplace? To what degree are you out? How can you be an ally? How can you be an ally sometimes when you're not so good at being able to tell that somebody else is queer? Which is Ian's piece. And what are the advantages of kind of being in the closet in the workplace, and how does that also apply to cyber, keeping your personal life close to the vest in general? So, and we kind of started out with, are you out? And we kind of all answered duh to that question, but it's always a different level of outness, I find, with different groups. And I want to just kind of talk about that a little bit across the team. Like, do you have places where you are out more than others because honestly it serves you to kind of keep things at a different gradient.
I mean, I know I do, but I think all of us read the audience, which is something we've talked about before. We've talked about how that OSINT thing going on in our lives makes looking at cyber or at intelligence work as with a finer granularity, because we've all had to read the audience, read the crowd. I mean, I guess you could say it's like stand-up comedy, although some stand-up comics don't read the crowd and just plow through. You know, it's one of those things where it's situational. You know, if I feel that I'm in a comfortable space, I don't even think about it. And that doesn't just mean just with friends, but it might mean work. I mean, I've had work situations where it just was, I knew it wasn't an issue and it was just a thing, you know? And it's like my coworkers would come with me to the gay bars for fun because they had karaoke. And, you know, all kinds of granularity of that, I think, in very formal workspaces. I mean, I've worked as a consultant in a lot of workspaces. So I've worked in military environments and I've worked in very large corporations. But the size of an organization is no tell of how comfortable you're going to feel. You know, I've been in 10,000 person companies as a consultant, and they know I have a husband and they know the story. But I mean, there's a difference locationally, there's a difference situationally, and every company has a personality, which I contend comes from the top down. So if the CEO is comfortable with, queer employees and makes a comment on pride or makes an announcement at a meeting that, Jane is marrying Julie this weekend, let's congratulate them. That sets a tone for everybody else because we all read the environment, or most of us. Plus I have, as we're also going to talk about, I have lousy gaydar, so I never know who's queer or not. So I don't even know how to look for my compatriots half the time. A waitress last night, was out with a friend last night, and our waitress outed herself as a lesbian, and we're both looking at her, and I'm like, my gaydar really sucks. I had no clue.
And I think that's kind of, we can skip over to that and you can think about that. Like when you want to be supportive and be an ally and your gaydar isn't great, like what are the things you do, Ian, to try to, do you kind of self advertise as an ally, as a supporter,
or as actually gay? I use
yeah.
neutral language so if I'm talking about somebody bringing a significant other to a party, I'll use the terminology significant other, or I'll use partner, or I'll say to a guy, your girlfriend or boyfriend. And it's, neutralizing the language makes it easy for other people to either be themselves or to, they subtly hear when you're saying, oh, well, you should bring your significant other, you should bring your partner. So I think, there are ways that you can neutralize the situation. If you go on and on and on about some guy is going on and on about his wife this, his wife that, then I'm like, well, my husband this and my husband that.
Yeah.
That's very much sort of like out, but neutral is a good starting place. Again, it depends on the environment. If it's people you've got to work with every day, it's very different from if it's, say, the local, I'll promo them, Charleston Hacks meetup, where it's like a random collection of nerds, fun nerds and nice people. But it's like, it's like in those situations, I feel like I need to be as out as I am comfortable being, because it makes everyone else realize that it's okay. Because I'm older.
I love that. That. So obviously your experience is a lot of, working for and with, you do a lot of working with, and also as a leader, someone who is facilitating relationships in a bit of a way, almost as a vendor, a vendor of people. But like,
Yeah.
what are your experiences with this, Peter?
Well, it's interesting that we're talking about signals and gaydar, and that one of the signals was a man talking about his wife. Because I have a wife, and I talk about her constantly, but I'm bisexual,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And and it's such an easy mistake to make, and that
Yeah.
there's so many, like the game of trying to figure out people's identity indirectly is fraught with problems.
Yes.
I think the only answer is, and I couldn't remember what the topic was today, and so this morning I'm like trying to figure out. I'm like, I'm still back on performative pride, like, and what do we do after Pride Month? And I think it's kind of the same topic, and that, I mean, it's always connected, right? But I think we have to be explicit about our familial situations, right? And the thing about gender is, when we talked about how it's not about just about sex, it is also about things like, what is the configuration of your family and personal life? So if you're going to a party and a plus one is permitted, by the way, like the poly people get nothing here, because plus one could,
Right.
maybe it should be plus three. I don't know. And they're queer
Well, you
people
just
by some
roll the
definition.
dice, and then if odd comes up, never mind.
We are not playing backdoors and breaches right now. That's another thing. The Near Shore Cyber Flex Coordinate. Thank you, Black Hills Information Security. But I think we just need to be kind of like really brutally clear and invite people. So like my gaydar, if I had it, and I don't know if I do, if I realize, or if I think that the waitress is a lesbian, and I start referring to her, whatever the conversation, how do I know she wants to be out? Just because I figured her out doesn't mean that she wants other people to talk
That
about her.
has to be her choice, doesn't it?
Right,
Always
right,
has to be her choice.
which means that, like, I think, to get this back to the topic of like extensive outness and things like that, I think we have to, frankly, take the conventional approach and be neutral when we can, but not in such a way that we put people in a position where we're outing them, or we're nudging them too much to out themselves. So you could say, and you're plus one, right?
Yeah.
We could say partner or significant other. Significant other is like way too long a word for me. So I'm like,
too many syllables.
It is too many syllables. I'm all about efficiency and or laziness. You choose.
Too many syllables.
But yeah. So to me, there's something else that you mentioned, Ian, that was sorry to pick you on you this time, but you're making some interesting points. The idea of like the bar and going to the gay bar is something extra. How many companies have you worked for where people were expected to go to a bar at least once?
Oh, all of them. Yeah.
How often do they expect you to go to the gay bar?
Well, one of them was like, it was kind of de rigueur, but
but it was rare, and it was right. It was not. It's certainly not the norm.
No. Well, but in that situation, it started out, I think, with, well, what are you doing tonight? Because it was a startup, and at that stage, we're all like living in each other's pockets. It's one of the reasons I like startups is you have no choice but to be yourself, because you're spending so much time with the same people. They need to know that your kid is sick and that you need to work at home, or they, it's like they need to know a lot about your personal life because your lives are intersecting.
Trust. Yeah, you're building trust, you're building a team, and it's one of those things where there's no procedure or buffer in place to make up for.
We had no HR person to start with, and so there was no one to say, and I think the way it started, although I'll stand corrected if one of my former coworkers is watching, was that they said, where are you going tonight? Because we often went out, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to see my friend run karaoke at Club Cafe, which is a gay bar in Boston. And they're like, oh, we should all go. And I'm like, yeah, you should all go. And it's like, So a bunch of us went, and we used to go to a restaurant that no longer exists around the corner every Tuesday, where the bartender was how do I say, gay as, queer as a $3 bill. Wonderful man. I still talk to him, called Errol, and everyone wanted to go and be, sit at the bar and be hassled by Errol. And we'd eat at the bar, and then we'd go to the gay bar because it was next door. And it was just what we did once a week.
No,
And it was
that's
nice. It was like a weird sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Normalization or and it felt
comfort.
Good.
Yeah. Comfortable.
No. So I want to take this and bring it back to one of our other questions around this and raise a few points about, like, how does the idea of, like, in the closet, not in the closet, also apply to cyber? And one thing I want to raise up is there are a lot of very private people in cybersecurity, and we, working in the smaller startups, like you just pointed out, Ian, like, you get to know people really well, and sometimes it's hard to know, and it's important to be careful of how much those individuals we work with kind of publicly share things about their lives. I've worked with some incredibly private people in cybersecurity, and and like, I now know, like, what their family arrangement looks like. I now know what pets they have. I now know when their birthday is. How many people do we see in cybersecurity who put their birthday as January 1st because they're very paranoid about doxing, OSINT, like, people finding out things about them that could be exploited or used to do nefarious things to them or their family.
I find that weird.
It's really
because,
similar.
We're in cyber and we understand OSINT and research and everything else. And all these people in cyber put their birthday as January 1st. And if I'm on a mission from God, I can usually find their birthday if I want to know. I usually can't be bothered. But there's a secrecy that's a non-secrecy.
Yeah.
That, cybersecurity people are just like, I'm a very private person. I need to keep my information private. Fair enough. Anyone has that right. The same way that someone has a right not to be out if they're not comfortable with it in a certain situation or at all. It's really a private matter. But at the same time, we know as security people that stuff is actually kind of publicly available. It's like, if I want to know if you have a cat or a dog, and I really want to know, then there are ways to find out. And some of that is money. I mean, this applies in spying circles, which is like, next level up or next level over. It's like, if you really want to know something and you're really prepared to put resources into it, you can find it. So how private? This is the whole, asking you in a security interview about your sexuality, because if you're honest about it, you're not blackmailed.
Well, that's my position for a long time has been, I'm in the business of keeping other people's secrets. Every secret comes with a cost to carry it. So I can't afford to have any of my own, or many. I have a few, I guess. I don't even think about them. We all do, but I try and keep it to a minimum. And the other thing you find is, if you get famous in social media, particularly in cyber, you realize very few people are actually watching. Like, I still have people who are like, people I've known for a long time who like me, who are like, so where are you working? I mean, like, I've been doing this for 2 years. Where? Oh, you live in Mexico? I had no idea. I'm like, it's everywhere. And then there are people I just meet who are like,
you're not in New Hampshire?
I mean, you're not in New Hampshire? I know. I'm like, I keep changing it back and forth. But yeah, what I realize is that it's not the information; it is the disclosure of the information. Like, when we started this thing, and I would say to our, like, clubs of people, like masterminds and groups, they say, "Well, what are you working on?" I say, "Well, we got this thing called Queer in Cyber," and people go, I'm making a horrified face for the people who are listening to the car, and these are people who are smart and sympathetic and friends, and I realize it's not that they didn't know I'm bi or they just found out. It's because I was saying it in a mixed audience.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And And that's really destabilizing to people, because then they're like, what else are they going to disclose? Are my secrets safe with this person? Right?
Well,
Well,
Are they
that's
losing their
trust.
stuff? Like, are they losing their mind? Because only a crazy person would do this, and they may be right.
Well, we're all crazy here, so it's
I
good.
was like, whatever.
I look at some of this and I'm like, it is about trust, like Amber was saying before. It's all about trust between us as a group of oh, we're all working at the same company, but also in our business inherently, there's a trust relationship with your customers, which is why startups in cyber have an uphill struggle selling to large companies, because you've got to build that trust. And the same thing is true. I mean, I'll turn it back to what I was saying before, which is that everyone has a right to not be out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, so you just walk by wearing a Carmen Miranda outfit at work. Go look it up, kids. Go look it up. And we'll go watch Bugs Bunny and you'll certainly have an idea. But somebody is wearing a Carmen Miranda outfit at work, and it is your job to just treat them like a coworker and leave it the hell alone. And you're like, well, it's January. It's not Halloween, but it should just be left sit, because it's up to them to say, oh, I'm wearing Carmen Miranda today because I'm celebrating whatever, or because I'm in a pageant with my kid later, or whatever it is. But it's not up to you to go to them and say, so, are you gay? Unless actually you run into someone, as I have in the past, that you work with or that in a gay bar. And even then, I won't go up to them and say, I'll go up to them and say hi. And it's up to them to say, oh, I'm here with my friends, or I'm, or whatever. And I actually don't care. I think it's actually my job not to care. And
Yeah.
that sounds terrible, but it's like, how do you guys feel about that? Like, Amber, you're smiling away for the people on audio.
I know. You're really missing out if you're listening to us on audio, honestly. Just watch the YouTube. We're delightful in person. Like, I have no filter on my face. So if I'm listening to what other people are saying and I agree or disagree, you will know before I open my mouth, because of what is going on this face. But I've had a few situations where I have seen people that I know in other parts of my life in gay bars and such, and I will actually not engage.
Huh.
I will leave it open to them. Like, I might make eye contact, maybe, but I will not invade into that part of their life. Like, I give them the choice of, do they want to come over and tell me I'm out with my friends? Do they want to come over and tell me I'm out with my partner? Do they want to come over and tell me I'm here for the karaoke? Or do they just not want to? That's their choice. So I just,
I say hi, but I don't go up to them and say,
oh, no,
hi,
no,
you're in a gay bar. I
no.
just say,
No.
hey, how are you
I'm
doing?
sure you don't.
No, but I get where you're coming
that's
from.
That's how I do it. That's how I deal with it. And I think that your approach is also great. I'm also dealing with this as someone who is female presenting, who could get some aggression if they do something in a way that someone is not comfortable with.
True.
So my approach is slightly different because of different factors I need to take into account.
Yeah.
Well, secrecy is complicated. Yeah,
secrecy is complicated,
and
that's a great way to put it.
And we need to support each other. Like, I mean, if we're talking about the closet, not the closet. Like, I think a lot of us come out because we suck at being in. We do not hold secrets well. They show on our faces, right?
Well, it's a psychological strain to be in the closet. It's a horrible psychological strain, and it just drains. I had a shrink for a while who always used to say, you're just giving a piece of your brain that you could be using for something else to worrying about being in the closet and keeping yourself in the closet, which is yet another argument to come out. But it's like, why? I don't have that much brain. I need all of it for the things I want to do.
Right. No, but we have to respect other people's secrets, and we have to negotiate that. Like, taking the example of the bar, I see, say, someone who I thought was a straight cis man in a gay bar, I got to think like, is he on the down low? Like, does his wife know, or is it an open relationship? Like, so I will wink and say hi to let them know, like, I'm not talking about this unless you tell me it's cool.
Right.
And so in England, actually, Ian, you might know about this. In the 50s and 60s, there was a language.
Oh yeah,
called
Gale.
What was it called?
Gale.
Yeah, and
Gale.
actually I have a book on it.
Polari.
Polari.
Gale
It's called,
Polari. Gale is the. I get them all mixed up. And there was a performer in Britain, a comedy performer, Kenneth Williams, who used it openly on the radio in a show called Round the Horn, and it was coded signaling to other gay men that he was gay. It's
looking here for my copy. Yeah, I'll post a link to it.
Yeah, somebody can, if you're interested, you can use your OSINT, stalk me on LinkedIn and ask me about it. I'll send you some links too. But it's fascinating. It was completely, and there are words in British English that are pulled from that from the time, but they were mostly women's names and very coded and very like could easily slip past you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really was like, you watch movies like Far From Heaven. It really was like that, only worse. It continued to be like that into the 70s and 80s in the UK.
But it's like when you're in New York and you're trying to hide your conversation by speaking Spanish to the person you're with, and you realize, half of New York does. Like,
you can
they
try
don't understand you.
You can try and hide your conversation by speaking Hungarian in New York, and it's not going to work.
It's still not going to work. But so I mean, the topic on this one is like, what are the what if you're looking for work and you're not in that club yet? Like, the thing about startups is, yes, once you're in, it's very open. And this is also, I think, one of the reasons why startups are kind of dangerous, because like drugs and sexual, sort of blah, blah, blah happens, and things get very weird really fast. But it's also understood that before you're let in, you will be trusted. And sometimes that extends to, I hate to see this because I've seen this, like, are you sharing the blow? Are you in the same social circles? Are you straight or are you gay? Do you play golf the same way? Are you into guns? Like, somebody hit me up last week where like, we're gonna do this like gun outing, and then we're gonna do like wine and steak. I'm like, I think guns are boring. Whatever, they're like big staplers. But the point is that you don't get in. They're not as open as they look.
There are two kinds of hiring in startups, one of which I don't think is good, which is where a bunch of frat bros hire a bunch of other frat bros and do blow and shoot guns. And then there's the other kind where you realize that in order to have diversity of thought, you need diversity in general. And so you look for people that don't look like you. And so if everybody looks the same when you interview at this startup, you might start wondering whether they're just interviewing you to look the same as them. Whereas to me, if I'm going to work in a startup with, 60 to 80 hours a week, I need to be out. And so I have to be out in an interview, and they have to know. And if that means that I end up getting paid less and getting fewer jobs, then I just have to, it's a cross that I have to bear, like so many other people have to bear. And it's like, I'm a white guy, so I'm already, quote unquote, ahead of the game. This is for people who can't see me. I'm a white guy.
Yeah. Well, is it great that like the three of us middle-class white people agree? Shocking.
Three out of three middle-class white people, English-speaking white people agree.
But when you're interviewing at a big company, you worry about your boss or you worry about your immediate environs. In a startup, you're interviewing the company, its culture, and its business idea, as well as interviewing for the job. So you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. Yeah. And they may not realize that because they're a bunch of, idiots, basically.
So you kind of said this before, Ian, where you've had variable results, but overall feeling here, do we feel that it's easier to be out in a startup or in a really big organization?
It depends how you want to be out, I think.
It depends. Yeah. It depends. It's such a great It's
Yeah.
What I
Every
worry
big,
about, back
yeah.
to performative pride. Sorry,
No,
Peter.
it's okay.
Back to performative pride, which I'll then hand to Peter. But
yeah,
it's, if a big company is doing the rah-rah around pride and changing their logo to a rainbow and you feel like it's going to be comfortable, you could get in there and discover that
yeah,
it's very difficult to be out. A friend of mine was complaining to me last night that it was difficult not to be a certain nationality at his international company because it was
oh,
full of people of a certain nationality and they were all clubby with each other. And so he felt like he was never going to get a promotion.
yeah. I can see that. I can see
Well, I
that
wonder what it would
happening.
be
Or
like
just
to,
like when your main office is in another country.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
not that I know what that's like, but Peter, what were you going to say?
No,
Yeah.
I was going to say, what I would love to see a predominantly queer company and see what the straights do when they show up. Like, oh, I don't fit in. I'm not, I've never seen that. I would love to see it once. But so we're not in a period where very many people are in a position to like interview their company. We're in really
Yeah.
lean times. Like, it's so
That's
bad.
kind of what I wanted to wrap with that
I don't know.
discussion.
We don't know how deep this recession goes. Or, I mean, I think you could rightfully call a recession or depression that began with COVID and had a bump, and we're back into the COVID depression, and we're in for like
It's
5-10
very
years of this.
weird. Yeah. I've never seen this before.
I'm just going to blame AI because
yes, let's blame AI. That's my favorite.
I mean, that's another podcast YouTube channel. I mean, this is about what do we do about it, right? How do we like? I'm looking for work right now as a contractor, right? I'm looking for advisory, recruiting, and all that stuff. And I put this stupid green banner up. Hopefully, it'll be down by tomorrow. I don't know, but there are a lot of people who aren't even out as unemployed, let alone out as queer, right? And so, what I think one of the reasons we do this show is to invite people to come out. Come out as queer. Come out as unemployed. Come out as not middle class white. Come out as not American, and show us who you are, and show us what's different about you, because a lot of us are aware of opportunities where people are looking for you as you.
Yeah.
Unless you're from Indiana.
Uniqueness. They're looking for some kind of uniqueness that you're hiding.
Exactly. I mean, let's just say, come out as needing a job, come out as yourself. But also, the other reason we're doing this is to encourage people to come out as allies, help those people, be listening, be watching for people who are looking for those jobs. This transcends the queerness and everything else, but like, let's just make a really, really big habit of not shaming people who need jobs, because that's a real big problem right now, and it's not.
Agreed. And if you're a hiring manager, don't let the applicant tracking system make all your decisions for you, because 99% of resumes that are disappearing into a bit bucket, somewhere in there is a gem, and you just missed it because you're overwhelmed. I know you're on the other side of this sometimes.
I know.
This could be a whole other episode. This could be a whole other episode.
It should be. It should be.
Yeah.
Well, tell you what, let's wrap this up, and I have a couple of announcements. One is on that front.
Right. No, I think this was all great. I think that was a great way to end that conversation. So, Peter, go ahead. Let's hear your announcements.
Yeah. Okay. So, first, thank you, Amber and Ian, for coming. I think we have Anna back next week. She's on vacation with family, and Ray, and then there are a couple of other people we have sort of slated as potential guests. So there'll be more of us. In terms of Pride is over on Sunday. Thank goodness, because it was exhausting this month. And we'll see who continues, right? Performative Pride is about who stops on the last of the month. Real Pride is about who continues, and we will continue. Now, what some things that we're going to continue to do. One is we're going to keep doing this podcast. If you want to help, we have a way that you can donate a little money. If you can pledge, like do a monthly pledge, like $10 will help. It comes to about like $1,500 to $2,000 a year to put this thing on. And right now we're going out of pocket. The other thing is a lot of people are struggling to find work, and the ATSs help a little bit. but there are a lot of people with a lot of really bad LinkedIn profiles. And if you are thinking you're one of them, you are. So what do you do about it? I'm going to start organizing public critiques of LinkedIn profiles. First one that I put on will be free. Well, no,
not shaming, not shaming.
I keep giving the same advice over. Yeah, I keep giving the same advice over and over again. So we're going to do one. I'm going to do it for free. After that, it's going to cost money. Join the Nearshore Cyber Discord. Follow the Nearshore Cyber LinkedIn page. Also announce it's the Queer and Cyber page for our community. But we're going to take that one head on. Other things coming up. There's Nearshore Cyber has a LinkedIn events page. Please check that out for things that are coming up. And if you have an event and you want to put it on our calendar, we have a kind of friends of category because we want to promote other people's stuff. And I think, is there anything else that we should announce? Nah?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Well, Amber, Ian, thank you so much. Anna, hope you're enjoying yourself wherever in Europe you are. Ray, we love you. And see you all next time. Cheers.